This is a day for Afghan people, and especially for the families of victims of the conflict here, many of whom are in this room, and I pay tribute to you. I also want to say that the United Nations Charter begins with the words, "We the peoples." It doesn't begin with "we the governments." And I say that because I want you to feel that those of us that have the privilege to work for the United Nations stand behind you, the people. We'd like to congratulate AHRDO and all partners who have worked for 8 years to establish the Afghanistan Center for Memory and Dialogue. I felt during in the museum, temporary museum, and during the theatre performance, I saw a lot of tears in people's eyes. Actually, I had a few myself. But actually, I felt that the feeling was positive. I felt a sense of hope, not of despair, of life and not of death, and of love, not of hate, and of reconciliation, not of revenge. And listening to Dr. Seema talking about Taiwan, it took me back to a visit I made to Berlin several years ago, to the Holocaust Museum there. I remember the thing that struck me, and I think many other people who visited that museum the most, was the shoes of the children. There was a big sculpture of the tiny shoes of children who had been killed in the Second World War, in the Holocaust. And it made me think that the first and most important thing about memory is to restore the dignity of the victims. And I hope that you who are family of those whose memories are reflected in the memory boxes downstairs feel that this museum restores some of their dignity. It's important to remember the past and to remember the dignity of those who have fallen in a conflict. Also, to look to the future. We look backwards in order to move forwards. And I want to quote former late Secretary General Kofi Annan, who said in 2004, "Justice, peace, and democracy are not mutually exclusive objectives, but rather mutually reinforcing imperatives. These imperatives should make a priority of building sustainable peace and stability while dealing with past abuses, reconciling victims, perpetrators, and other stakeholders." Others have also spoken of the challenge of addressing impunity in Afghanistan, and we in the United Nations are also committed to peace with respect for human rights and for justice. I also took note of the objectives and even of the name, where you have called it a Center for Memory and Dialogue, because I think the second part is as important as the first. it's important to remember from the perspective of victims what has taken place, but also it's important to keep communicating. Dr. Seema said that she has promised to find a permanent location, and I promised to help her do that.